Accounting Instincts. We were established in 2012 purely with the purpose of contributing or making a positive contribution within the ecosystem of small businesses. One of the things, especially when I started encountering Sage, there's a certain way where the accounting profession is evolving to. Something said to me that if everything is digitizing, what is happening to accounting? What is happening to our space? What is happening to finance? What is happening to tax? At that stage, you found softwares like Sage that could release financial statements for clients at a click of a button. And where do we participate as accountants? Do we even have a future? And just before COVID, I took a decision that we're going to be a business that is focused more on reporting, giving more insightful, accurate reporting. We're going to use systems like the Sage system to be able to accurately and efficiently farm those numbers and farm the data into analytical reporting that is business intelligence to guide and help those businesses make informed decisions. And fortunately, even at that stage, we had just been onboarded onto a program that Sage was going to do in 2020. The highlight of that program was just how it opened my eyes as an entrepreneur in terms of how you think. Back in the day, it was just a thing of getting a test clearance out of you and getting financials out of you. That's all they needed accountants for. But now, ideas and things or plans that they want to do, they want to now have your strategic partner. And Sage has allowed us to be able to articulate ourselves, with those type of services and give birth to that business development service whereby it strengthens the relationship for us with our clients. So I just feel that Sage and our practice, we met at the right crossroad at the right time, and their system and their solutions are speaking to the future that we're trying to go to. The Sage system, even though you wouldn't maybe have went to an advanced training, you would be able to maneuver through the system or make sense of it. So I think the experience of using the Sage system is a pleasant one in terms of the ease of being able to use the system, the ease of being able to troubleshoot. The Sage payroll is an absolute beauty from an efficiency, timelessness point of view, reliability, accuracy, and compliance, because that's the biggest thing. You need to, at the end of the day, the statutory compliance that you need to fulfill, and it enables one to be able to do that and be on top of their game. When it comes to profits versus empowerment, Sage really showed that they care about the growth and sustainability and the future of accounting firms and accountants like myself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Washington Mashanda, and I'll be your host for this morning. Welcome to the Sage Forward Together Customer Roadshow. It's great to see you all out here this morning, and I hope you will enjoy what we've packed up to go through with you this morning. Right. Just before I start, maybe a couple of housekeeping issues that we can just get out of the way. So where we are seated, facing myself, the entrance is where you came through the back. If you need to use the bathrooms will be out to the back to your right. And in the event of an emergency, you will have, the exits are clearly marked in green, so you'll be able to exit. There'll be security officers out there to help you and guide you to go to the assembly area, which is in the front. Right. Now, today's session comprises of a couple of, there's a main plenary session that we're going to run you through, and then we will take you through to the breakout sessions and the product demos. Now, the Sage Roadshow, we've got the hashtag Sage Roadshow ZA. Please share the love, post your, whenever you post on social media, please make use of that. You will notice that your cards, your delegate cards that you've received are actually biodegradable, which is a sign of where Sage is looking as a responsible global citizen. And therefore, when you get home, please do plant those or get your kids to plant them. And let's see what grows there. There might be some lettuce, rocket salad, whatever. And please do share that so that we can see how well you've been going in that regard. Thank you. Now, okay. So we've just had the drums, and I think I would like to call, the drum bots, that is their name. So maybe you can just give them another round of applause for the excellent work that they've done. Okay. All right. Now, the drum has different meanings for different societies. And in the African context, drums have always been used as a way to ignite passion and excitement and get people going, whether it was to go to battle, whether it's at a celebration, drums always play a part. In the Western world, drums are there more to amplify the music. And certainly, it is always great. So when you hear the drum, it's really for us to try and drive and get that passion and excitement that we need for the day. Now, today, we are here to ignite that Sage passion, get you all excited, make you understand what Sage is all about, where we are going, and there's a large panel that is going to share in terms of what we as Sage are doing, but also we are here to focus on addressing some of the key business issues that small and medium businesses face, and hopefully try and unpack those, see what ideas we can share. One of the big things that we keep facing today is really the energy challenge, and that is going to be topical in our panel discussion that we're going to have. Now, to help me kick off this passion, and sorry, okay, let me actually just step back. So I've spoken about our agenda. Now, to help me kick off this passion that we are going to ignite today, I'd like to welcome onto the stage our Executive Vice President, Peter Bench, President of Africa and Middle East as well, to share this vision with us.
Thank you, Washington.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for embracing the Gauteng traffic to be here. I really appreciate it. I have been assured that that little seed you're going to plant is compliant, whatever that means. So don't expect anything else growing out of there. But it's good to have you all here, and it's good to share Sage strategy specifically to our region and where we're going. Our mission is still to break down barriers so that everyone can thrive. What do we mean by that? Deploying software in such a way that our customers can thrive, so they can focus on their business and not have barriers of running their business in the back end. How do we automate most of that? So that's what we mean by that. How do we get to focus on breaking down barriers? What's important for you in your business? We need to understand what your business is about. So globally, annually, we survey around 12,000 customers in 9 countries: US, UK, Spain, France, Germany, South Africa. And in each country, just over 1,000 customers to make sure we get a knowledge of what is preventing business from growing and what do our customers want. In this year's survey, we just concluded a couple of weeks ago, very interesting that the trend in South Africa, 38% versus only 34% globally, felt like cost is a drag on their business. I think you can all relate, right? We live in problems with water, problems with power. You think, do you pay for software or do you pay for a generator? Do you pay for a solar system? That is what we live with. It's reality. But I think what's gone for the last couple of years is the business in South Africa has become resilient and has embraced that and managed to work through those challenges. What's interesting is that 83% of the businesses we surveyed said that their businesses in South Africa will be successful in this year. 54% said they will make more money this year than they did last year. Those two numbers are higher than anywhere else in the world, where they have power and where they have running water. So, to my point, our businesses in South Africa, small and medium-sized businesses, are thriving and are resilient through tough times. Now, we already see some hopes of glimmer in inflation that you've seen recently is now lowest in 13 months. These are all good signs, and we see political leaders and big business leaders trying to thrive and get involved in rebuilding the economy, which is all good. Another interesting statistics, and this is what we really aim to achieve from these results, is 53% of these customers said they will increase their technology investment in this year. That's interesting. What's more interesting is 23% of those said they're going to invest in 5G connectivity rather than anything else. You can derive from that it's more important to have connectivity when there's no power, probably. But more interesting for me, and that's what we are here today, 21% of those customers said that they will increase their investment in artificial intelligence. Of course, since the launch of ChatGPT and many other artificial intelligence bots that's now available, this has become relevant to every business. It's relevant to your school kids, relevant to your university students, it's relevant to businesses. It's become a daily interaction for most of us. So, as you'll see today, we're already on that path in Sage, and we have those investments, and you can benefit from those investments. How do you benefit from those investments? Sage has embarked on an ambitious cloud strategy. What do we mean by that? We partner with our customers to work through a digital transformation to get you to the cloud. It's important to understand, if you want to benefit from all these advanced features and artificial intelligence, it has to be part of a cloud connectivity. And we've moved past automating mundane tasks. That is already as an assumption in our business. We are now developing software in a way for our customers to do better work, for humans to do better work, not just automating mundane tasks. Those we see as given in our software. And we want to do it in such a way that it's sustainable to the economy, sustainable to the global environment. And lastly, we want to use the cloud to build trust. Not only for humans to trust technology, but also for businesses to build trust between each other. And that's important when we come to the cloud. So this is old story telling you what the benefits of cloud are. But it's important for me because we still have thousands of customers running desktop products. And we are doing every effort to encourage these customers to adopt a cloud technology. We have a cloud alternative for every one of our products that's out there. And if you want to benefit from this in the future, from artificial intelligence or any other automation, it's important to embrace that technology. And some of these are simple, but yet, for our customers, and I think mostly accountants and partners here today, it is a difficult task to move to that. But we are here to help you, to assist you to move to the cloud. We know that it's trustworthy. We know that it enables collaboration. It's quicker to update. New features are not only there when you do an update. New features are there when you log on. When you log on to Sage Accounting and a new feature has been enabled, it's there. You don't have to install it or update it. And what's more important or more interesting, everybody that sits here has a smartphone. And you've embraced the cloud for many, many years in the past already. The apps that you download from the App Store, the automatic updates you get, the banking you do from the cloud, that is all there. Why is your accounting and your payroll system not in the cloud yet? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Because those benefits that you get from your smartphone and more is available out there. So what do we do with our products portfolio going forward? At the bottom there you can see our traditional products, Sage 50, Sage 200 Evolution, Sage 300, VIP Payroll. We are moving all our customers to a flavor of the cloud, but it's a pull. It's not a push. So we want our customers to come to us and say we want to adopt the cloud, or go to your accountant, say we want to move to the cloud. We are not going to push you there. What's new in our product portfolio? So the last couple of years, we've had Sage Business Cloud Accounting, Sage Accounting. We've had Sage Payroll, the small cloud payroll. We have Sage Intacct, which now has over 100 customers. And if you're a Sage Intacct user or a Sage Intacct partner, you know by now that there are quarterly updates with significant new features that you get. And significant automation that's already built into that. And every quarter you see new features, functions coming in. Because these are global products. And this is where most of the investment are going. If you've been a Sage 50 Pastel user, you probably haven't seen new features for the last 5 years. That's because all the investment in R&D is going into our cloud technology, because that's where we're building the future. We have some exciting products in our cloud portfolio coming in the next couple of months, the next 12 months. One of them is a new version of Sage Business Cloud Payroll, Sage Payroll for small and medium-sized businesses. Sage Payroll Advanced for complex medium businesses. We're going to see Sage HR, which is already available, but Sage HR will be built and connected into all our desktop payroll products. So if you have Sage 50 Pastel Payroll, you will get a connector into Sage HR, and you'll have a flavor of part of your software running in the cloud. And coincidentally, if you haven't seen Sage HR yet, please have a look at the app on the App Store. In the UK, the Sage HR app is the highest downloaded app in the UK. On the App Store. Buy anything. That's how crazy that app has taken off. So all of these are built on a trusted environment, either on AWS or on Microsoft Azure. Those are the two partnerships we have, and those are the trusted partners that we built our cloud technology on. So throughout today, you will see more of what I've said. Please go to the breakout rooms, ask to see some of these, and you'll be able to get all your questions answered. How do we elevate humans to do better work, what I spoke of earlier? One example is, if you haven't heard of auto entry, today you'll see auto entry in one of the breakout rooms. We do smart data extraction, automated, as part of auto entry. In Sage Intacct, there's automatic error detection today in your accounting. In Sage Intacct and some of the other products, you're going to see automatic accounts payable in automation. When we did a survey through the IDC last year and asked customers, what is the most painful problem we can solve for you? We'll automate accounts payable. And that is now already reality in Sage Intacct and coming to the other products. And of course, intelligent suggestions coming out of artificial intelligence in our products. Looking at your behavior, how you run your business, and then making artificial and intelligent suggestions for you to run your business better. And of course, all of this enables us to move through the next stage of digital transformation, which is the Sage Network. The Sage Network connects more than just your business to the cloud. The Sage Network connects businesses together. It brings trusted technologies and trusted digital relationships between businesses. And we see that in Sage Intacct today, in Sage Accounting, and we're going to see that in payroll. One example that we already see in payroll today in South Africa is employee verification. What does that do? Because we sit with just over 9 million pay slips a month that we process, we can, through a digital secure connection, share that with financial institutes. And if one of your employees, one of our customers' employees, want to apply for a loan or a housing bond, what's the first thing they ask them? Can we have 3 pay slips? That is always a problem to get. Where do you find your pay slip? Who's going to print it for me? Now, through a digital secure connection, the financial institute can request the pay slip from the Sage Cloud. And that's available in all our products and in Sage 300 people later this year. That is just an example of the Sage Digital Network and how we will embrace this beyond just accounting and payroll. So in the Sage Network, we build secure relationships between your suppliers, between buyers, between accountants and customers, and between financial institutions and customers, and more. And all of these, over the next couple of years, will be starting to integrate in the back end, which will make accounting transactions flow automatically. But what's important for us is we have to focus on trust. I joked about compliance in the beginning, but compliance is what payroll and accounting is all about. And we continue for the last 30 years in South Africa and in the African continent to deliver secure, trusted, compliant software. That is the #1 priority for us. So I'll leave you with this thought today, that we will never use artificial intelligence in a way that erodes the trust between Sage or our products. That is critical for us. We're here to be compliant. We're here to deliver technology, best of breed, for you to do your business in a reliable way. I thank you for your time, and I'm going to hand you over to Jordan. Thank you very much.
Everything is what it is. You never hold me back in anything. You didn't even have to try. I made up my mind, and I know you'll be there. With just one touch, you take me there.
Thank you, Peter. I think you've all picked up the Sage vision and strategy, and everybody's talking about cloud. Now, I think what has become quite interesting is really, and it's a very topical question around, is technology shaping humanity or humanity shaping technology? And it's something that I'm sure you all have a different view on that. But what's critical in all this is that as we deal with technology, we still have to deal with the element of humanity. And I think the element of humanity was well encapsulated through the COVID pandemic that we went through. Because if we think about it, COVID made us to do things that we previously thought were not possible. I mean, remote working is a good example where people could now continue to do what they needed to do, and probably even more productively than being in the office. Now, when we talk about humanity, we always realize that business and society form part of a very interconnected system in which humans and the environment interact. And in order to unpack this, or to help me unpack this, I am going to welcome onto the stage Jordan Berger, who is our VP for Finance and Commercial Finance, basically our CFO, who is going to come and talk to us about a very interesting topic around the human firm and how the humanity and technology coming together. Jordan?
You didn't even have to try. I made up my mind, and I know you'll be there.
Good morning, Johannesburg, Midrand, and Pretoria. It's so great to see all of you here today. And today is all about interactions. It's not a one-way conversation, Sage talking to you, but we've got such a rich mix between customers, business partners, accountants here that it's really important for all of you to mingle, to interact with one another, and to hopefully get from our side some good ideas about what you can do for your businesses. So I want to see by show of hands how many accountants we have in the room. That's a good sign. Okay, so more than 50%, more or less. So I'm also an accountant by training. It's always challenging for me to speak after Peter. You can see Peter works for a tech company. He's all dressed nice and sleek. I dress like an accountant, right? And I need to start with at least one accountant joke. So what's the difference between an introverted accountant and an extroverted one? The introverted accountant looks at his own shoes whilst talking to someone, and the extroverted accountant looks at the other guy's shoes. So, me being an accountant, I think it's appropriate for me to introduce the concept of the human firm to you today. We're going to be meeting or seeing a video from Will Farnell. It's basically his concept, this human firm concept that he started. I'm going to play you a video shortly about that. We're going to have a good interactive discussion. Later on, I'll be joined by an accountant in practice, Celeste Summerton, on stage. She's going to help us make the concept a bit more practical. So hoping you're going to get a lot of good input from this session. So I want you to meet Will Farnell from Farnell & Clark. They are from a firm in the UK, a chartered certified accountancy practice. He started his practice in 2007, and by 2009, they went fully digital. They've won a couple of awards for the most innovative firm in the UK in 2016. So let me play you the video to introduce this concept.
Good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to have been asked to contribute to this Sage Forward Together event. My name is Will Farnell. I'm founder of an accounting firm in the UK called Farnell Clark. I set Farnell Clark up back in 2007 with the idea of building a different type of accountancy firm. We did a number of things along our journey, but most notably, we were probably the first 100% cloud-based accounting practice globally back in 2009. We've lived and breathed technology. We've been at the forefront of the technology evolution within accounting. And on the back of this, I've been fortunate to write 2 books, the first of which was called The Digital Firm, which I published in 2018 as a blueprint to help accounting firms understand how to use technology to deliver better experiences for their clients. But most recently, in April this year, I launched my second book called The Human Firm. And I'm delighted to kind of introduce this next session of the event today, entitled The Human Firm. And really just to set some context to this, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why I wrote the book, what the opportunities are for accountancy firms globally to really make a difference in the lives of the clients that we serve. So I wrote The Human Firm as a natural evolution to what I talked about in a digital firm. And one of the things that I'd love to leave you with today is that to be a truly human firm, you first have to be a digital firm. And what I mean by a digital firm is that we're utilizing the best technology combined with the best people, the best processes to improve the lives of our clients, to deliver world-class client experience, to automate the mundane, to free us up as humans to support the clients that we serve in the best possible ways. And I'm delighted that with The Human Firm, I had the opportunity to work with Sage. Sage have published a book for me, and we're working in partnership to really take this idea of human to as many accounting and bookkeeping firms as we possibly can. So I think it's fundamental as we see the playing field level, and all accountancy firms have access to the same technology today. They have access to running their firms in the same way. The only thing that differentiates what we do is our people and what we do for our clients. So what we've done is we've seen an evolution that's become circular, and it's gone back to where we started. 25 years ago, accountants had great relationships with their clients. We worked to make sure that we had these deep relationships to enable us to support our clients in whatever way they needed to. But compliance came along, regulation came along, and our focus went from having great relationships to how do we keep our clients out of jail? Technology paved the way for us to rethink about what we do and how we do it. So on our journey, we went through the idea of being an online accountant to being a cloud accounting firm to being what I referred to as a digital firm. And actually what we've done is we've gone full circle with The Human Firm. We have the ability to rebuild these great relationships with our clients, but we have something we didn't have 25 years ago. We have the access to insight to really enable us to deliver true value for our clients in those relationships that we can rebuild today. It's not just about technology. It's not just about people. What's become apparent as we've seen generational shift is the importance of culture and purpose in what we do, the importance of the values that underpin everything that we do. And for me, this is fundamental. When we talk about The Human Firm, we're dividing it between a client value proposition and an employee value proposition. We have to get that balance right. So not only do we understand what it is our clients are striving to achieve and how we can best help them, but also, what do our team want? What are the aspirations of our team members, and how do we support them in delivering on their aspirations without detriment to what we do for our clients? I'm passionate about innovation. I'm passionate about tech innovation. I'm passionate about accountants going beyond and business owners rethinking the way that they operate their business. We have to think about innovation as continuous improvement, looking for those opportunities to add those incremental improvements to everything that we do. I really hope that you enjoy the session that's coming up now, where a panel is going to discuss the opportunities for you to evolve to being a human firm through becoming a digital firm. And we're going to share with you some of the definitions of a digital firm and a human firm and what it really means. But I really hope you enjoy the day. And what I'd love to leave you with is, when you think about your accountancy firms, your bookkeeping firms, your business, think really carefully about why you do the things that you do. Get clarity around purpose and what you're striving to achieve. And use technology as the fantastic enabler it is to really impact the lives of your clients. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. I'm Will Farnell.
Great. So the biggest takeaway for me from Will's summary is that there's a shift. I think the focus was on being a digital firm, but now we're bringing back that human element as well, and that needs to be a focus alongside the technology being the enabler. So I'm going to now share with you my summary of what I believe the human firm is. It's a shorter summary, even shorter than Will's, so listen carefully. In the context of the impact of technology on accountancy firms, the term human firm refers to a business that's incorporated technology into their operations whilst maintaining a strong emphasis on human expertise and skills. A human firm understands that technology can enhance efficiency, accuracy, and productivity, but also acknowledges the significance of human intelligence, judgment, and interpersonal skills in providing high-quality accounting services. The advent of technology, especially in areas such as automation, AI, and machine learning, has brought a significant shift to the field of accounting. Routine tasks such as data entry, bookkeeping, and basic calculations can now be automated, allowing accountants to focus on more complex transactions, strategic decision-making, and client relationships. This technological shift has necessitated a transformation in the role of the accountant from a mere number cruncher to that of trusted advisor and strategic partner. A human firm leverages technology to streamline processes, reduce manual errors, and improve efficiency. It utilizes accounting software, data analytics tools, and cloud solutions to automate repetitive tasks, manage financial data, and generate accurate reporting. By embracing these technological advancements, accountancy firms can enhance their service offering to their customers to provide a much more comprehensive service offering. However, a human firm recognizes that technology is a complement to human expertise, not a replacement for it. Accountants possess specialized knowledge, critical thinking skills, and professional judgment, and this cannot be replicated by machines. They play a vital role in interpreting financial information, analyzing complex transactions, providing strategic advice, and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. Furthermore, the human firm places significant importance on client relationships. While technology can enhance efficiency, it cannot replace the personal touch and communication skills that accountants bring to the table. A human firm emphasizes the value of face-to-face interactions, actively listening to client needs and understanding their unique business challenges. This client-centric approach fosters trust, loyalty, and long-term partnerships. So that's my summary. How long do you think it took me to prepare the summary? Or rather, let me ask, where do you think the summary comes from? ChatGPT. It took me 10 seconds. Literally 10 seconds to get this summary. One carefully phrased question about the impact of technology, the concept of the human firm for accountancy firms, and that's what I got, word for word. So it's phenomenal what technology can do for us, and like Peter said, it's everywhere around us. The speed at which things develop now is phenomenal, and it's really important for us to keep up with it. On the way to Durban, we had our roadshow in Durban last week and earlier in Cape Town this week. I read an article about We Buy Cars, who have now implemented AI, or for a while already, to determine the purchase prices for vehicles that they procure from us, the public. That's what they need to operate at scale. So AI is really there, it's around us, businesses are using it. If you think about Sage Intacct, which is our medium-sized ERP offering, there's a module in there called Intacct Intelligent Time. For services organizations, through AI, it automates timesheets, right? It basically does suggestions for you, for your staff that are billable staff, suggestions from your calendar, from your activities, for you to then just accept and reject. And the customers using that functionality are seeing a massive increase in the number of billable hours. So technology making it easier for us, but obviously there's a financial benefit as well. Let's look at this quote from Will. A firm that utilizes a mix of digital technology and digitally aware staff to deliver first-class services efficiently through maximum levels of automation. We need to consider this carefully. There is a shift in terms of the talent that we need in our businesses. It's important for us to recognize that youngsters entering the finance arena now come with a different set of skills. They're more technology savvy, and we need to create the environment for them to actually flourish and to embrace things like technology. A couple of years back, the difference would have been someone using a calculator in one hand, adding up the numbers and typing it into a spreadsheet. Today, it's the difference between someone using Excel reporting versus someone else who builds a dashboard which gives you real-time reporting, gives you the financial insight in a real-time format, and it's the build once, use many principle. I want to go back and think about a couple of other elements of the human firm that Will also highlighted. as businesses grow, the compliance burden gets bigger. If we think about where a small business starts, it starts with an idea. You need to issue your first invoice, deliver your first product, your first service. That's where you start using something like Sage Business Cloud Accounting. It minimizes or reduces the admin burden on you as the business owner, but as that business grows, you're going to have to engage with an accountant at some point in time. And that's where this human element comes into play. Cloud computing is amazing. I remember back from my accounting days when we used to run around with pastel backups. It was a nightmare, right? Knowing which backup is the latest backup. And then you spend 5 hours recording transactions, and then someone restores the backup over your work. It's a disaster. People are still doing that today. Like Peter said, we still have lots and lots of customers working on desktop solutions. We need to embrace the cloud. I hope I'm speaking to the converted today. The challenge also for us is not to use this technology just to bill or just to increase our billable hours and play more golf. It's really for us to do that value-add service of being that trusted advisor and strategic partner to your clients. If you can help your clients, businesses thrive, your business will also thrive. So let's look at going from digital to human. It's crucial for accounting firms and their customers to define their purpose and their value proposition. The client needs to focus on their business, their product, their service offering, but you need to be there alongside them to make sure that you can enrich their business and provide them the skills and expertise that you as an accountant have. We've got tools at Sage that can help you provide that insight. Best example of that for me is Sift Analytics. So we've got an accountants program. If you've got 25 or more Sage Business Cloud customers, Sage Business Cloud accounting customers linked to your profile as an accountant, you get Sift Analytics for free. It's a subscription which usually costs, I think, 15,000 Rand a year. And with Sift Analytics, you can now provide cash flow forecasting, manage KPIs. It's got an AI report builder in there to help you provide your customer with that insight. It's just another example of, I think, what Sage is trying to do to uplift your businesses and also that of our customers. Another quote from Will. A firm that has built a high-performing team committed to the purpose of the organization with a deep understanding of client goals and aspirations, enabling them to deliver world-class experiences to those clients without detriment to their own goals and aspirations. This is the win-win synergy that we're talking about, making it better for your clients so that your businesses can thrive. If we look at the multiple touch points around this opportunity, cloud accounting has made it possible for you to have direct access to the financial data of your customers. That financial data gets updated daily and gets enriched. And with your skills and analytical tools, you need to look for trends, and you need to try and spot what's needed, what you need to inform your customer of to drive their business even further. The shift in responsibility has moved away from the original challenge of just producing an accurate set of numbers. It's not that anymore. The technology can do that for us reliably, even better than we can. But now we need to play that role of the storyteller of the numbers for our customers. This is how you're going to add value to your customers. If you don't know someone, you can't help them. Get to know your customers, use the right tools, use the right technology, and hopefully it's a thriving relationship from there onwards. I'd like to invite Celeste to join me on stage, please. Celeste is going to help us make it a bit more practical today because she's got her own accounting firm. Welcome, Celeste.
And hello, Joburg. It's so nice to actually be home.
It is great for a change.
Cool.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Celeste, really great to have you and help us understand the practical elements of all of this. So I want to kick off with a question immediately.
Yes.
Which principles have driven growth in your practice?
So, Jordan, I started Business Boutique in 2020 with only 2 clients. It's been an amazing journey. Today, we actually sit with 181 clients. Nice growth in 3 years. But I think it really speaks to the human firm. We don't do any sort of marketing. We have like a Facebook profile, we have a LinkedIn profile, but that's there for, for our current clients. We send messages to them, Father's Day, all of that kind of things. But yeah, all of our clients come from our clients referring, partners or whatever to them. The other source where we get our clients is from our business partners. So we've decided to team up with lawyers, HR consultants, and obviously through that networking, we pick up some clients. And then the last part is from our staff, who really, really believe, and some of them are in the audience today. They believe in our firm and our values, and what we offer to our clients.
Excellent. And you're a fully cloud firm. So
100%,
my next question is, how has cloud technology allowed you to better understand clients and improve the value that you offer?
So when I started in 2020, I obviously decided to be 100% digital. I use 3 products. The first one that will be demoed a little bit later on is Auto Entry. If you haven't used it, guys, please. It makes the automation of invoicing so much easier. I have staff that work in Mauritius. I have staff that work in Rustenburg. They are all over with this, and this product enables them to actually do their work wherever they work. What's also nice is on a daily basis, our software is updated. So the second product that we obviously use is Sage Business Cloud. And then you mentioned it just now as well. From a reporting side, we use Sift Analytics. And yeah, that's our business. And I really believe with those 3 products, you can offer such value to your clients. The reporting that you spoke about just now, the KPIs, I use those to, especially with my bigger clients, I go and sit with them on a monthly basis and I discuss that. What is also quite nice from an accountant's point of view is you have dashboards where you can see performance of your clients on a daily basis. So it's that real-time information all the time that enables you and your clients to actually make decisions straight away.
And what advice would you give other practices that want to embark on this journey?
Yeah, Jordan, so I think, like Peter was saying earlier as well, we've still got a lot of desktop clients. So it is a journey that you have to go on. It is time-consuming initially, but if you look at the time that you will be saving, 2 or 3 months down the line, it really, really is worth it. So what I would suggest is make that decision to actually, go cloud. Then choose, a software partner, and I would hope you guys would choose Sage, because it is really, to me, the best product out there. And then you need to put an implementation plan for each one of your clients. You need to put an implementation plan, in place. Very important, if your client is going to have access to the cloud software, train them, train their staff as well. And yeah, go on this journey. It is just fabulous.
Excellent. So which new trends or advancements in technology are you expecting to have the biggest impact on accounting practices in South Africa?
So I think what you guys said just now as well, that the role of us as accountants, obviously, yes, there is the compliance. Yes, there is the big word SARS. But for our client and clients especially, guys here with about 60 million rand turnover, it is that like a virtual CFO role that we offer to them as well. It's a very, very big trend, especially in my practice. I'm getting a lot of CFO work as well. And we use, reporting tools. those guys don't want to wait a month and a half after month end to actually see their reports. They want to see reports by the 15th or the latest the 20th of the next month, because that allows them to actually make informed decisions, you know. And normally with that kind of work that I do, like I said, I go and sit there and we look at net profit percentages, we look at GPs, we drill into GPs, because especially with, you know, COVID in the last 3 years, that is like vitally important, you know, for the guys. So yeah, definitely virtual CFO and giving that advice to the guys. They don't just want to see a set of management accounts anymore that's a month and a half old.
My last question to you, Celeste. What can our local industry do more to support each other to develop the skills needed to better serve the businesses community?
So, Jordan, I think, to me, it's very important that we all share. You know, all the roadshows that we've been on now, I've
Another. I want to close off quickly with experimentation. If you want to get technology into a firm, you need to be brave enough and bold enough to experiment. So what we did as part of a SAGE leadership program that I was on currently, we were a big group of global colleagues split into groups, and each of us were given a challenge. So we were 6 people in our group, and our challenge was to, through the use of robotic process automation, automate a process in our sales order processing function within SAGE. I know nothing about RPA. I've seen it once before this challenge we embarked on, but we had to do some form of experiment to see what can we do aligned to the challenge that has been set. So we quickly found out that SAGE has a framework which is used by some of the global finance teams where they automate processes through the use of RPA. They've got specialists that do the programming. There's a whole framework in terms of compliance and. it takes 15 weeks to automate a process. So our team sat down and we said, okay, what can we change? And we came up with a challenge for ourselves, which we called RPA in a day. So we said, okay, if the current framework takes 15 weeks, can we automate a process in a single day? So that's what we set out to do. And what we did is we found someone in our sales operations team here in the Johannesburg office. We paired them with a Microsoft expert, and we basically locked them in a room for a day and said, automate a process. The process we identified was something that we do between 700 and 1,000 times per month, and it takes us about 3 to 5 minutes to conclude that process. So you can see the value if we were to be able to successfully automate that process. The outcome of this was that we failed, right? We couldn't automate it in a day. We did it in 2 days, right? Phenomenal achievement, phenomenal change in the approach in which we do something through experimentation. So I'm just encouraging you to be bold, experiment. If you fail, it's also a good result, but be open to new ideas. The last thing I'm going to show you is a video on YouTube. You can go and watch it again. It's about Microsoft's Copilot, which is linked to ChatGPT, which is going to revolutionize and basically take away the need for you to understand and know Excel as well.
Copilot in Excel helps you make sense of all your data. Say you need to analyze this quarter's sales results. You start by asking Copilot to analyze the data and give you 3 key trends. Within seconds, you've got what you need, but you want to drill in. You ask Copilot a follow-up question about one of the trends. Copilot creates a new sheet, giving you a sandbox to play in and helping you better understand what's happening. You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now you want to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question with a what-if scenario. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model and even asks if you want to learn more about what it did with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot in Excel turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions.
In closing, it was great spending time with you, looking at the human firm concept. Embrace technology, be brave, be bold, and it's really good to see all of you here today. Thank you.
Doing things I've never done. Oh my God, when I see you, I shoot it right. But I'm frozen in motion, and my head tells me.
Great. How's everyone feeling? Are you all feeling a bit more human? All right, great. Now, we're going to have a tea break, and we'll then want to continue with our session, and I would really ask you to just try and stick to the time so that we can get through the program. But just to reflect on what Celeste and Jordan spoke about, I think 2 things really came to mind, which is really, it's about planning. It's about, taking that leap. And in the planning, I think one of the quotes that really caught on to me is one by Franklin Roosevelt, which said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So if you're having this discussion about whether you go to cloud or you don't go to cloud, it's that big question. But more importantly, the question is, if you don't plan and you don't adopt the technologies as they're coming through, what does it mean? And there's a very good African proverb that addresses that, which says, a lazy man who will remember that he has not planted when his neighbor is harvesting. So you choose where you want to be in that space of moving through. Right. So if I can ask us to be back in here in 15 minutes, or if we can be back here at 10:15 so that we can get the panel discussion going. We've got a very big group of speakers, and we really want to make it a very memorable time for you. So tea is served right at the back through the exit where you had tea before you came in. Thank you. Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. Right, we're going to move on to our next session. Okay, so our next session is a panel discussion, which is really going to focus around the business and some of the challenges, discuss a range of questions. And to help me go through this panel discussion, we've got a very esteemed author and journalist. I think most of you have probably heard his voice around 5 when you're driving home if you listen to 702. And his name is Bruce Whitfield.
Am I coming now?
Yes, you can come through now.
Sorry.
All right.
You said distinguished. I didn't know you were talking about me. Sorry. Morning.
Okay. Now, joining us on stage to really discuss around the whole business, I've got Jeff from AW Power. He's representing AW Power. He's also part of AW Cape from here. Nicholas. Are you? Yeah. Okay. And then from Sage, we've got Gerard Hartman, our VP for business. Okay. All right. And then our last speaker from Nedbank. I'm just trying to get Peter Nodier. Okay. Right. Thank you, Peter.
I know. It's where I can reach you. Hello, everyone. By way of introduction, my friend Pavlo Fatidis runs a business accelerator, and he does a lot of work in rooms like this, and he goes to see entrepreneurs, and he was in KZN fairly recently, probably about in the last 6 months or so. The beaches were full of sewage. The place was rocked by the riots and the floods. And he went into a room of about 100 people, and everyone was happy. And he said, guys, let me understand something here. You remember the riots, right? Yeah, we remember the riots. You remember the floods, right? Yeah. Have you been to the beach recently? I said, yeah. Not onto the beach, but to the beach. It's revolting, yeah. So why are you so happy? And they gave the same response as my dad at his 90th birthday gave me when we stood in a room of about 100 people. And I turned to my dad and I said, nice speech, well done. How are you feeling? Top of the world, great. I said, why are you so happy? He said, look around you, my boy. So I looked around and he said, what do you see? I said, well, mostly old women. And he said, oh, don't be silly. Some of them aren't even 80 yet. I said to him, so what's so good about being 90 in Port Alfred? And he gave the same response as the guys in the room at KZN gave Pavlo. He said, my boy, at 90 in Port Alfred, there's no competition. The guys in KZN also, no competition, because in tough times, companies give up. Individuals give up, leaders give up, teams give up, people capitulate, businesses fail. Those that are resilient, those that have got the, want of a better word, nahas to succeed, thrive in this sort of environment because as others fail, they're able to take on new teams, cherry pick great people, take on new clients, and find new opportunities amidst a sea of despair around them. You find the the entrepreneurs who are able to capitalize on the opportunity that is presented in that process. Peter, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure.
Trading update from Standard Bank yesterday, saying the same thing as a recent trading update from Nedbank, which said the same thing. That was first rand yesterday, Standard Bank on Tuesday. and then Nedbank came out first and just said, look, consumers are struggling, the bad debt levels are rising, the environment is tough. It's all within expectations. This isn't all fall down. This isn't 2008. This isn't massive credit extension bubble stuff.
Yeah.
But times are tough. And I'm sure if individuals are struggling, small and medium enterprises are struggling too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think if just to latch on what you said around when it gets tough, some people throw in the towel. And we're seeing that if you just look at the franchise business. A couple of years ago, there was a number of people that's got 1 or 2 franchises. Those people are throwing in the towel. If you now look at franchise owners, they've got 5, 6 or more little franchises. So that's definitely something. And then maybe just to clarify, when we talk SMEs, we talk startups, it's 10 million and below. And when we talk medium, we talk 10 million to 50 million. And then we talk corporate and mid-corporate going up there. And then even what Peter said right at the beginning, around if you look at the companies, the cost, and then the other side, the income, that's really, really under pressure. And when we talk our small and medium companies, see even work that we did during the COVID, when we said, listen, here's a COVID loan at less than 5%, they're still busy repaying those loans. And those loans wasn't there for capital expenditure, so it didn't grow the business. Now that loan is still at prime, but prime is now above 11%. So that's one side that's hurting them. And the other side, you're looking at the energy challenge, and everybody knows that.
Energy challenge.
Yeah.
15 years of power cuts, you mean? The cocker.
Yeah, so potato, it depends on who you ask.
You call it energy challenge, I'll call it state cocker.
Yeah, okay. So unfortunately, that's a political discussion that I'm not going to get involved in.
It's a survival discussion. But yes, I take your point. Our next guest is thriving.
Yeah, no,
in this environment.
So I think there's some experts in the energy field, and they'll elaborate on that.
Sure.
And then there's specific challenges in specific sectors, and you've got different challenges in the transport sector and the agri sector and your fast-moving consumer goods. And just to highlight one is some of our clients in the Lowveld. Just to get their products through the harbour is a challenge. So it gets rotten.
But the point is, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a session at the Citrus Growers Association the other day, and I made the point that South Africa is the second biggest exporter of citrus fruit in the world.
Correct.
Despite
the challenges.
Department of Agriculture. The agriculture minister was sitting there. She laughed and nearly fell off her chair. Portia Darby, the CEO of Transnet, was sitting in the 3rd row. She didn't smile because she knows it's her fault. And I said, despite Transnet's very best efforts, these guys get their product to market, they get them through it, they have to load the damn stuff onto the ships themselves, they will do it. And that's what we talk about when we talk about resilience. I don't know whether our resilience is getting stretched very, very thin, or whether or not we just go, okay, this is normal, this is what we have to do with, just go for it.
If you look at the stats that Peter has just shown, 38% is still positive versus the rest of the country, or the rest of the world. So I do think South African small businesses is resilient. But they're getting to a point where it is really, really tough. If you look on the other side, the income, our consumers is under pressure.
Yeah.
Interest rate has gone up more than double.
Everything is sucking money out of people's pockets.
No, it is.
Higher rates, inflation running. I mean, yesterday inflation number was good at better at 6.3.
And hopefully we can take a leaf out of the Fed's book and not increase rates again.
But we will.
Yeah, so that's also another debate. We'll have to ask the economists about that one.
But we're a little tight on time, so we won't get into that debate. Yeah. The market is divided. We'll share that with you. Jeff Ryan, you're in the vulture business, electricity business. You're providing help, services, and assistance. To people who need energy, need help for the what's it called? The energy challenge.
That's it.
In the midst of chaos and uncertainty, as I've written about in books that I've done, a wonderful thing happens. And it becomes a catalyst for new industries, it becomes a catalyst for new opportunities. And as uncomfortable as it is, we're actually seeing an enormous reset in terms of global energy, but particularly in South Africa, where the energy future is not going to be dependent on Eskom. And that's brilliant.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, Bruce, I feel a bit embarrassed sitting up here myself because
Well, you
obviously
should be.
I am. Vulture's a bit more than I'd go for, but effectively, what you said earlier, the people outside here are actually the heroes that should be on stage to survive what we've gone through. And I was actually in Durban during the riots and all the problems, and I've now moved to Cape Town for other reasons because it just made more sense for running the business.
That's why you can't afford rent in Cape Town.
But the reality that the business owners, the accountants, everyone in this was that they are thriving. Musa Kalinga shared a stat with us 2 days ago. It was a drop-off of about 90% down to 30% in terms of economy where we are from SMB. So the people out there are the survivors, the people that are actually thriving. They're seeing it as a challenge, not as a crisis. And I think a lot of the people out there have probably been already converted either to the solar renewable energy space or not. And the options out there are manifold. And to be fair, there are those fly-by-nights. And luckily, we didn't decide to do that. We could have. We had the opportunity. We'd been building this business for a while. But one of the things we did very well from an understanding of what customers wanted was quality. And a lot of the questions that came to us when we were selling solar initially was, well, how do we know it's going to work? Because we can't trust you. No one knows the name. There was no BMW quality car out there in the renewable space. So you had to create an image which meant that if you wanted to succeed in the business, which is what we focus on very much, is take less customers on, make sure that the customer success stories were there to talk about what we've actually done. So we tried to maintain a quality so from the growth perspective it would work. Yeah. The other thing we did was, and much what Sage is trying to do, is investing in technology and partners that enable you to leapfrog your competitors. There's a research around Accenture saying that if you invest in technology, 70% of your IT budget on innovation, you're going to be 5 times more successful from a revenue growth perspective than those are only investing 30%. And it's the same principle when you're looking at a solar renewable. It's not an option for everyone. You might be in an office that doesn't have a roof, for example. You can't put solar on top of a building, apartment blocks. You may not have the money from an expansion perspective. So you've got to actually look at other options. And Peter Bench wrote a great article about this where the opportunity is not just, Bruce, as you said, in the renewable space for new businesses. I mean, the recycle business is going to be a huge one in 5 to 10 years. All the solar panels are going to be obsolete. And the guys that had the terrible batteries from China that actually have exploded in your house. There's a huge market coming up.
And there's a whole rebuilding of the houses that burned down.
Exactly, yeah, I know. Insurance guys are happy, Nedbank, your insurance is going to be great. But the reality is where we can play a space, and as advisors, a lot of the people in the room as advisors, is working together in that partnership, that network that was being talked about a couple of times. Nedbank has some great financing options, and we've partnered with them actually specifically. Sorry, I know they're right here. I'm not going to only just say one bank.
I thought you were going to write him a check, but you guys don't do that anymore, so it's fine.
But there are options out there, but they need to be the tax rebates, the
tax rebates are blooming con, unless it's for a business, which is great.
Exactly. So the return on
the
investment
personal household one is a bit of public relations and a waste of time. But the
for the
125% rebate on businesses is phenomenal, and that changes the game. Actually,
it does completely
fundamentally.
And you know what we've done, because we're obviously 2 separate businesses or 3 businesses in the same building. It's a green building, and we are actually a little bit in the barter system. So that's where you got to look at as opportunities. We're
don't tell Edward Kisvet.
So we're effectively, we're providing the solar within the building, which means that we don't have load shedding. We have sustainable electricity. We pay a certain amount for that. And as an alternative, we get an inverter for our consulting staff, which is on the AW Cape side. So you got to look for those opportunities within your group. Firstly, or otherwise partnership with others in the room. And I think, Washington, you said that is around networking. This is a great place to meet some fantastic people.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. If you've ever met Robbie Brosen, you will know that he is the most annoyingly enthusiastic, positive person on earth. And if you remember the stories of Winnie the Pooh, there are 2 main characters. There's Winnie the Pooh, of course, but he's kind of boring. There's Tigger. He's the tiger who bounces around and his tail is terribly enthusiastic. And the South African character, nobody actually knows he's South African. His name is Eeyore. He's the donkey. And South Africans are more Eeyore than they are Tigger generally. And you say, what a beautiful sunny day. And I'm going to get skin cancer and I'm going to die. But Robbie Brosen is Tigger. And I've just launched a podcast series, and Robbie was the guest on the first episode of the podcast series. We met up at Constitution Hill, and he's heavily involved in the Constitution Hill Trust, and they're doing an amazing work there. And he goes, you know what the best thing about South Africa right now is? I said, what, Robbie? He says, it's so, and he used a word, which I think means broken, buggered. But anyway, it's a word. And he says, there is so much to fix. And I was like, okay, that's kind of different. It's like after an earthquake, you get an economic boom because things improve. So Nicholas, I mean, is that the opportunity? I wonder. When it comes to, things are so battered that the survivors after the apocalypse, let's make it a Hollywood movie out of this, are actually the ones that repopulate the earth and things get better afterwards.
Yeah, I think the experience most of us still have is in 1994 with the changeover.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, there was also the doomsayers. And
have you still got baked beans from then or not?
No, I ate them all up during lockdown. So, so we have that experience, and I think we should use it. We shouldn't forget it. We went through a terrible time. We were isolated on the world stage, and then there was a change, which heralded the highest economic growth that Africa has ever seen, and we were booming. So I was thinking about, is there a comparison with now? We have more, it's more difficult on the world stage. We've lost that dividend, that peace dividend. We're now in a mess of our own. But as I agree, and as all the accountants here would also agree, there's, people need accountants, whether the economy grow or whether it's in recession. If it's growing, you expand, and you need better accounting and tax advice. If it's a recession, you also need a similar advice. You cannot be without that. And then the unfortunate thing is, well, from our perspective, fortunate for Africa, Africa is expanding heavily.
Yeah.
There's a railroad being built between Tunisia and Angola, financed not by South Africa, unfortunately, I don't know why, built by not us, and connecting a whole new economic corridors. Namibia is discovered 11 billion barrels of oil. If you calculate that at $60 per oil barrel, that's about, then their GDP will be higher than ours. Then I watch a lot of TikTok, get a lot of good information from there. But
so we know it's true.
I know it's true. So the presidents of Rwanda and Kenya, they invigorated, they positive, not the malaise that we have in South Africa, it's not there. So the message is, we shouldn't look into ourselves and backward and have closed-mindedness. If our government doesn't want the economic growth locally, we take it to Africa.
No, but exactly right. And the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which Ebrahim Patel says we don't need anymore because we're too big for it, really, which is about $5 billion worth of trade a year for enterprises that many of these people may be involved in, and exports and phenomenal job creators in South Africa. But Kenya this week signed a trade deal with the European Union to get duty-free access into the European Union. There's a huge amount of really good stuff happening all over this continent. And for the rest of us, we've really got to be playing catch-up, I think. The guy who invented the spreadsheet, I forget his name, Brackhill or something, about 40 years ago. He invented the spreadsheet, and he felt terribly bad because he was an accountant himself, but he invented the spreadsheet, and he thought he was going to put accountants out of business. And if anything else, it freed up accountants to give the advice that you talk about. And it created far more innovative and different approaches to the old-fashioned bookkeeping where people used to sit in rows and work themselves to death by the age of 37. I wonder, Gerard, in this world of innovation and opportunity and coming out of a mess, and I think there are lots of signals that are happening at the moment. On Monday we did a green hydrogen deal where the Dutch and the Danes came, and there'll be a R1 billion energy fund. There are a couple of little isolated things at the moment, inflation coming down a bit, just a change of mood, load shedding only 3 hours a day. It's luxury, really. I wonder if you are seeing, and in your customer base are seeing, just a little bit of Vuma beginning to return.
No, Bruce, definitely. And I mean, we're fortunate to have a big customer base in South Africa. We see that. We spoke about the technology earlier on and where you're in the journey of adapting technology. And we see customers that's currently maybe using desktop products wanting to move into the cloud. We recently did a study and released a white paper for CIOs. And in the white paper, there were two observations. The one was that technology and business leaders, more than 67% of them, say moving to the cloud, their critical systems into the cloud, is a top priority for them. And the second observation for us, coming from that white paper, was to say more than 79% of technology leaders said that it's important for them to make sure they automate their processes. And we spoke about it. As a business, and we're going to touch on a session just after this regarding resilience, but I think it doesn't matter where you're in the journey to adopt the technology, you need to come on board. And you as a business need to decide, as a customer using our software, need to decide where those benefits are. And I always, Bruce, you said, what do we see? What is the feedback? What do we hear? And I want to highlight a customer story just quickly. It's a customer called Brenochem. They're in the agricultural industry. And for those of you who don't know them, they're a wine waste transformation company.
Sorry, wine
waste.
How do you get any waste from wine? Sorry, I don't understand the concept. You have a bottle, it finishes, and then, the bottle, you throw that away.
But some people don't finish the bottle, so that's where the wasting
we
comes
need to talk.
and their CFO, Andries Rousseau, said, with all the entities' financial data consolidated in the cloud, they now have the power and insight of their data. They can analyze it. They get to know touch points in their business that they've never known before, where they need to create efficiencies. And that was migrating their financial data into the cloud of Sage Intacct. And that's powerful. And each one of you as a customer sitting here have your own success story. And we spoke about connections and conversations. Let's connect about that. Let's get together in the breakouts, I want to say, over lunch, and let's have those connected stories of business success.
But Gerard, I don't mean to be surprised, and I'm not passing judgment on anybody, but the fact that we're still having a conversation as to are we migrating to the cloud or not feels like we're sort of need to play quite a lot of catch-up quite quickly, because the cloud is the biggest, most logical thing on earth. A friend of mine, ex-South African, lives in Italy to escape crime, had all of his tech stolen out of the boot of his car, which was locked in Rome. Everything gone. Within 24 hours, he was back up and running because he was able to connect, insurance, go and buy his new tech, download everything from the cloud, and he was back up and running within 24 hours. I mean, there is, and in a world of load shedding and all of the stuff that people have to deal with and backup systems at the office and the lack of security around offices, all of that stuff, the logic of the cloud move is, I think it's indisputable. Anybody dare dispute it? Anybody dare? We don't even know that 90% of our stuff's in the cloud anymore. It's just natural, right?
Yeah. Agree. And again, it's, if you lose it, you connect it the following day. It's secure. Yes, we always get a question about security, etc. Peter touched on it, and that's part of what we give back as a customer, to say we're a trusted provider. When you put your data into the cloud, it's secure. And I don't want to go into the security stuff.
Occasionally, though, somebody does go, ooh, a Nigerian businessman wants to give me money, click. It does go wrong from time to time. But again, you've got more risk of that happening on your server at the office, frankly, than, in a proper protected environment. Washington, over there. Is the conversation between IT professionals and accountants and the C-suite changing? Is the C-suite catching up?
Look, I think it's always an interesting conversation, and if you look at strategy, my view has always been that strategy can make or break a business, and and I think there's always the common saying that says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And therefore, when you are having your finance strategy and your IT strategy, there has to be that alignment in terms of working together. The IT strategy cannot, the two cannot try and make for each other. They've got to work together, because how often have people heard the fact that, oh no, we can't do this because IT doesn't allow us to do this. So you need to have your CIO, to what Gerard was referring to, move along with you, and finance being able to engage. And therefore, that environment that actually promotes the adoption of tech, whether it's finance tech, for that example, whether it's going to the cloud and taking finance products that are aligned to the cloud. You have to have the two working together. Otherwise, you get caught in the red tape.
But they don't speak the same language. The IT guys don't understand the finance guys. The finance guys certainly don't understand the IT guys, because you guys speak, I don't know, it's Klingon or something. How do we bridge that gap? Because, you listen to IT people speak, and then eventually you feel stupid, so you just go, that's a good idea, yes, let's do that. How do you bridge the gap?
Yeah, I think it's a very simple thing. It's communication. You need to communicate, understand what are your needs, and ensure that as the whole planning process is happening, I think more often than not, it's a catch-up that happens, where people are coming and saying, oh, by the way, I need a budget to do this. And finance says, well, sorry, we closed for the year, and you move forward. So that communication and that understanding at the high level is important, and to have those tough conversations. And yes, you might get a no, but at least the conversation is happening.
Yeah. I mean, just when we look at it, Peter, in terms of investable businesses and the figures, and I'm so bored of the same figure, but it's the only figure I know on this, that 94% of businesses that are started will never be sold because either they die with the founder, or somebody gets bored and just closes it, or they give up. Yeah. So only a tiny fraction of businesses will ever succeed. And in an environment that is more hyper-connected than ever before, in an environment that is increasingly fiercely contested from a resource point of view, are you seeing investable businesses being built?
There is. And it comes back to our original discussion, is the people that's got the resilience, the people that really want to make a success.
Don't sell Zanelle's thunder.
Okay. They are still successful. There's niches that you need to focus on. Things that was really a brilliant business idea 5 years or 10 years ago, with the change in economics, the change in IT, you need to change and adapt with the circumstances. And if we just take the energy challenge that we've got at the moment, you've got to look at approaching somebody that's an energy expert. He needs to look at your business and decide this is the best solution. And solar might not be the best solution. You might sit in the Cape in the winter and there's no sun.
I saw some figures yesterday about just the performance of solar, because this is like the wettest winter in 40 years. Yeah. The dams are full, that's nice. Yeah. Nobody will be thirsty, but my goodness me, it's dark.
And that's why it's so important to get an expert. Yeah. If you ask for finance, I can say you come to Nedbank, we'll structure the finance, we'll ask you to engage your accountant, make sure you get the tax rebate, make sure that you depreciate the asset, because there's a big difference between financing a solar asset and financing a machine or equipment. Yeah, yeah. Machine or equipment starts making money 2-3 months, pays for itself in 2 years. Sweet spot for solar is 8 years. Yeah. And if you haven't
by which time you have to upgrade it. And
that's why it's so important. Yeah. Get the right person that's got the right qualification, get the right quality products, and then make sure that they install a proper system for you. And it's a combination. It could be solar, it could be wind, it could be hydro, it could be a normal generator.
A prayer.
Yeah, it could be a prayer as well, if nothing else helps.
Exactly. Nicholas, I don't know if you know the story about Brian Joffe and Bidvest. There are many stories of Brian Joffe and Bidvest. Some are quite scary. But 2008, global financial crisis, he instructs for a sign to be put up in every single Bidvest facility across the world. And the sign says, Bidvest does not participate in the recession. And it was like, hold on a second, but you're in the recession. You can't avoid the recession. But it was challenging his people to think differently about the environment which they're in. And I speak to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs and survivors and people who are doing well and people who are struggling. The ones that do best, in my view, and I wonder your view on this one, is not people who ignore the scary stuff and the dangers and the potholes and the pitfalls, but people who simply navigate and who are agile and nimble and quick and are in the business of thinking growth rather than thinking about the constraints. Your thoughts, Nicholas?
No, I totally agree. There's two stories that come to mind, and we all know them. The one was our 2019 World Cup effort. A year before the Rugby World Cup, we were number 7 in the world. And I distinctly remember a conference just like this one, where all the experts were brought in and said, no, there's no hope. We're never going to win. We have to go back to grade 1. It's going to take 12 years to get the skills of the All Blacks. In comes a new coach, new perspective, new focus, same team, and we win. I was recently in India, and it's vibrant. It's that economy is it's brimming with energy. It is something to behold. So getting ourselves out of we're living in our own minds too much on the southern tip of Africa, isolated, and not really expanding. We need that expansion mindset. So in India, their president, they also, remember their poverty is much higher than ours, and when they got independence in 1950, their illiteracy rate was 90%.
90.
90, much worse than ours. So it took them about 20 years to get to $1 trillion GDP. It took them another 5 years for their third. And when I was in India, everybody was talking, everybody. When I spoke with the sponsors, the accountants, the firms, the professional bodies, this is the story. President Modi came to our sector. He showed us the GDP of India. He broke down what we contribute to the GDP, and he said to us how much will we contribute in addition in the next 18 months. And as a nation, they set a target. In the next 18 months, they want another $1 trillion GDP added to the economy. Sure. And they focused. So their accounting firms, the only thing they were speaking to me about is I need to connect them with firms in South Africa because they're expanding. There was now a conference in the Ivory Coast. Who is the sponsor? Institute Chartered Accountants, India. They're driving growth. And we don't have, so stop looking inward. We have problems. We can complain about Eskom and potholes, but shift your mindset. Africa is growing, the East is pumping, and we need to connect with that. And luckily with cloud and online accounting, we can do that.
I was doing a study the other day of American CEOs. About 20 to 25 of the top 100 CEOs in the United States are born in India. And an Indian consultant has done an in-depth study into it, and I was reading what he was writing, and just saying the Indian CEO has got a fundamentally different approach to the American top-down CEO. For the Indian CEO born in India, everything is a hustle. Everything's a negotiation, from birth certificates to driver's licenses to everything is a discussion. Everything is a negotiation. No is never a part of the discussion because there's always a solution. And I mean, yes, we had the Guptas for a bit, and they demonstrated that prowess. That we don't want to repeat that. But it does come down, and maybe a final point to you, Jeff, just in terms of this environment where, yes, we can sit and lick our wounds and capitulate and cry and say how unfair it is and how we're stuck at the bottom end of Africa. We don't have SAA anymore, and it's just so hard. Or we can dry our eyes and find opportunities, as guys like yourself are doing.
Sure, and to your point, I mean, we have, not at the moment, but a lot more sun than most other countries. So the solar industry, specifically, is a great opportunity. But I think more than that, and Celeste, talked on her collaboration with the different people. That's actually where the success of most businesses are happening at the moment. We've been very lucky recently to be, our shares have been bought out by a US firm. And the partnership and collaboration we're now doing through the US, we have a separate business that is spinning off in terms of using CAs that cannot find work here, and it's unemployment and difficulty in the accountant space. They are offering their services to the US, living in South Africa, quite happily earning dollars. They're very happy. The same thing from our perspective, we're offering consulting services. There's opportunity if you look out for it. And I had an idea on the way here, is much like preferred suppliers. If everyone in this room said, we're going to make a stance about sustainability. We want this country to be renewable energy first. Let's move away from Eskom, but we only engage with other suppliers that are green or sustainable, not people that are taking advantage of us. And we kind of put those suppliers on our list. This room itself would massively impact this country, and I think that would be a great opportunity for us to do that.
On the basis, similar story to the accountants, just to wrap up. A company you've probably never heard of operates out of Cape Town. It employs 400 architects, interior decorators, furniture designers, and it does projects in 90 countries around the world, delivering multi-million-dollar projects and never having to leave Cape Town. It's called Sayota. It's episode 7 of Bruce Whitfield's Genius podcast series, which is available on your favorite podcast app right now. And it landed this morning. But the story of Stefan Anthony, who starts out as a jobbing architect, having graduated within first class from UCT, and he starts inventing new ways of building, including the most impossible spans of cantilevered concrete and challenging engineers to do better and better and better. That guy runs a business out of Cape Town, serving clients across the globe on all 6 continents. He's built a yacht club in China, office towers all over Africa, private homes at 100 million rand a pop, including, I suspect, Cyril Ramaphosa's house in Fresnay, because he won't confirm it, but I can see it's got his signature all over it. It's the art of the possible. And he could have sat there and just gone, well, okay, the 3 of us will just design projects and we'll just keep hustling and building in South Africa. And he just went, hold on, we've got a world-class offering here. And people come to Cape Town and they see this wonderful tapestry of the 12 apostles and the Atlantic Ocean seaboard, and people go, we want that architect to design our stuff. He didn't want to go and work in America for 6 months and fight with American builders. So he just does the design, hands over the plans to using this thing called the internet. Apparently it's going to be a really big one day. And they deliver projects all over the place. And just last thought, during COVID, that madman Gidon Novik, who started Kalula.com and left before it was terrible, starts Lyft, the airline. And I said to him, Gidon, what's wrong with you? You know SAA's in business rescue and Comair's in business rescue, and nobody's allowed to fly anywhere anymore. So he says, yeah, I know all of that. Of course I do. So why are you starting a new airline? He says, because there's an opportunity. I said, but how is there an opportunity? Nobody's allowed to fly. He said, but they will again soon. He says, if you hang around with the kind of people I hang around with, you can't help but be optimistic. So if you're feeling pessimistic about the future, and if you're feeling gloomy about the future, get new friends. That's the solution. Thank you, panel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. All right. Thank you. All right. Great. Thank you so much to the panel, and thanks to Bruce for ever being so insightful. Right. Now, our next speaker who's going to join us is really going to talk to us about business resilience. And business resilience, you can define it in whatever way, form, and shape. But really, in my view, it's the ability of a system to continue to maintain its formation and structure even after the effects of a shock. And really, to help us discuss through that, I would like to welcome on stage Zanele Njapa, who is a well-known speaker and writer and contributor. I call her the unlearning lady. And she's going to come and talk to us about unlearning. And trust me, you will be captivated. Zanele, please, thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Much, Washington, for that beautiful introduction and setting me up for failure by hyping me before I started speaking. I think as we start off this conversation today, I just want to gauge where everyone is. So give me a thumbs up if you are doing amazingly. Give me a thumbs down if you're not. And a thumbs middle if you're still figuring it out. Like, we need to give you a bit of time. Okay, this is good. This is really, really good. And I think that this is going to prime us for this really exciting conversation we're going to have now at such a pivotal time during our day today, when we've had such phenomenal discussions. The conversation we're going to have now is a conversation about what it's going to take. With everything we know we are faced with currently as a country, as businesses, what is it going to take for us to leap into what we envisage for ourselves? And that's the conversation we're going to have now. So as we start, I would just like to ask for 3 things. I know we just met. I'm not in a position to make demands, but I'm going to. 3 key things that I'd like for you to give me. The first one is I'd love for you to be aware of the assumptions that you're making consistently. Because oftentimes, without even knowing it, our brains, when we experience a gap in information or insight, our brains will cook up a beautiful assumption based on our biases and previous experiences, and will give us that assumption and say, here's what's going on there. Go right ahead and do what you want with it. But if we're not careful, those assumptions can really be the roadblock to something amazing. I'll prove it to you, because I can tell there's a bit of tension. You don't believe me. When you saw me, or when you heard me for the very first time on this stage, or maybe previously on social media or wherever it was, you made an assumption about me. Now, only you know that assumption, but whatever it is, that assumption could be the blockage between you and you actually learning from the conversation we're about to have. The assumption could be, oh, interesting, that accent, she must have gone to one of those schools. Or the assumption could be anything along those lines. Now, I'd like you to turn to the person next to you and whisper to them what the assumption, I see someone's already started. Wait, guys. Whisper to the person next to you what the assumption was that you made about me when you first heard me or when you first saw me as we started this discussion. 2 seconds. Don't be too loud. I do have feelings. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I promise I do. Okay. And then come back to me. Let me just tell you that that laughter is hurtful. I just said whisper, and some of you laughed, so that says a lot. Second thing I'd love to encourage you to give me as we have this discussion is really secondary to that. Once you notice that you've made an assumption about something, be brave enough to challenge it. And that's really a big gamut of our discussion today, really quickly, is being aware of the assumptions that you make and then challenging them. So that's the second thing, challenge your assumptions and step out into what this beautiful panel was speaking about, stepping out of the box. Challenging, going into the future. And the very last thing, I'd like you to have fun. This is not a hugely technical conversation. I work with some phenomenal organizations, but at the end of the day, our solutions are actually a lot simpler than we make them. So that's the point of this discussion, is to make it super, super fun and easy for us to grasp. So let's get started. Here's a quick idea of what this conversation is going to be about. The ballerina you see on your screen is about to start moving. All you need to do is tell me what direction the ballerina is moving in, whether it's clockwise or anti-clockwise. You can show me with your hand or you can say it out loud, either one depending on what you are comfortable with. Still thinking? That's fine. Okay, I'm seeing this. Not sure what that is, but I'll take it. Okay. Clockwise, raise your hand if you saw clockwise. Okay. All right. Please put your hands down. Anti-clockwise or counterclockwise? Let's see who you are. Ah, interesting. Okay. Now let's test out that hypothesis and see who of us were right. Who are the people in the room that were right? Now, what you'll see is I've just added a ballerina on the extreme left-hand side. The middle one is still exactly the same as what you saw before. And let me just say this. There is no other reason other than this illusion that the ballerina in the middle is black and the other one is white. Just in case anyone was going, that's pretty much all it is. So, what direction is the middle ballerina going in now? Anti-clockwise? All right, raise your hand if you said anti-clockwise. Ah, the hands are going up higher. And we're going, yep. Okay, not so fast, because what I'm about to do now is show you that if the ballerina that was on the extreme left has now moved to the extreme right, you might be seeing something slightly different. Okay, from the laughs, I assume that we're kind of getting the point. And that's where we'll close off. If there's anything at all that I want you to take from this discussion that we're about to continue, is that wherever it is that we put our focus, that's the result we're going to get. And especially at such a critical time in our businesses, in our organizations, in our industry, and in our country, it's never been more important to shift the perspective that we hold in order to unlearn and relearn. I'm now going to guide you as we close off this ballerina video to do something with me. I'd like you to start your eyes on the ballerina that's on the extreme right-hand side, your right-hand side, my left, and then I will guide you through the rest. So start your eyes on the ballerina on the extreme right, and then move them to the middle. And then over to the one on the extreme left-hand side, and then back to the one in, back to the one in the middle. And then just switch them back and forth and take your time with that and see what starts to happen. Something is happening. I will disclose here that I'm not a witch, not even on the weekend. It's not something I do, but this is literally just an optical illusion designed to portray that specific point, that wherever it is we put our focus, that's the result we're going to get. And today's conversation is about encouraging us to really shift what we think we see. Because I often say that when we watch the news, there's what you see and then there's what's actually happening. Oftentimes, with most of us, we're just exposed to what we see. Hand up if you've read this book, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Fantastic book. If you haven't read it, I see one person in the room. 2 have read it. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. This concept of 10,000 hours that you may be aware of comes from this book. And the big idea there is that if you want to reach a level of mastery in your work, you need to put in your 10,000 hours. It's going to take sweat, blood, and tears over and over and over again. But did you know that that's actually not the main premise of the book? That's not what Malcolm Gladwell is trying to teach in The Outliers. The big idea in the book is actually this: that you cannot, by any means, put in your 10,000 hours before everyone else if you haven't built the networks, the support, the connections that will allow you to do so. It's quite profound because he even uses the story of Bill Gates to show that exact same point. And he shows that in Bill Gates' journey, he was only able to start putting in his 10,000 hours from high school only because the Mothers Club in his school had a garage sale, and they were able to buy one of the latest computers that went straight into their computer room at their school. And only then was Bill Gates able to have that competitive advantage. Not because he was smart, which he probably is, and I don't take that from him, but because someone around him was able to open up a door that he couldn't have opened up himself. And I think that this so beautifully drives the idea that sometimes it's so important to consider just how much we can leverage each other at this time. When resources are scarce, when so many of us are holding our breaths, when the economy is not doing so great, the best thing we can do for ourselves and for our organizations at this time is to look across. Who's sitting next to me? Who's across from me? Who's that firm that we look down on and we don't quite like? How do we collaborate with each other and build something great? So I'm going to just test that theory a little bit here. And I'm sitting in a room of people, I mean, we look at numbers all day, every day, so this should be fairly easy. Where is the mistake in this image? And just turn to the person next to you and whisper it to them. All right, so maybe while you do that, one of the responses I often get here is the 3 is yellow. We cannot have that. How in the world do you put a yellow 3 on a screen? So that's what you might be picking up as well. But also what you may not be picking up, and this will depend on the conversations you've just had, is that the mistake is in the question itself. It's not actually in the numbers, but what the brain does without us being aware of it is that it goes to where the noise is. And because the noise is with the numbers and the colors, we instantly, without even knowing it, we go there. Now, if this is how your brain has worked just with this image, imagine how that same concept is playing itself out every single day in our businesses. Every single day you get distracted by noise. Every single day you get distracted to point your attention somewhere where it's colorful, somewhere where it's drawing your attention, instead of where the questions that you could be asking are, or the different questions that could unlock something amazing. So, I'm going to end off my presentation with sharing 2 key ideas. So really 2 steps that we can follow as we think about how we build this resilience, as we go into building our futures, as we go into strategizing for what's next as businesses. What are 2 key things that we can do that will allow us to let go of who we once were or who we are at the moment and reach for something exciting and something new? And to do that, I'm going to do the one thing that you pray a speaker never asks you to do. I'm going to ask you to stand. I know nobody likes the speaker who asks them to stand, but I'm going to ask you to stand because I am feeling a bit brave today. So 2 seconds. I promise it won't take long. Please stand for me for 2 seconds. Ha ha ha. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to raise your right hand for me if you have access to it. Not everyone has access to their right hand. So, Here's where we're going to start. I'd like you to just draw the number 6 in the air. 4 or 5 times until you feel like you know what you're doing. Okay, cool. When you're done, you may put your hand down. Second thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use the opposite foot. So if you used your right hand, I'd now like you to use your left foot to draw the number 8 on the ground. Also 4 or 5 times until you feel fairly comfortable doing that. You don't have to raise your foot, but if you want to turn this into a workout as well, be my guest. Feel free to do that. Okay, now you can probably guess what's coming up next. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to do both at the same time. So the number 6 with your hand and the number 8 with your foot. 4 or 5 times until you feel comfortable doing that. And then you may sit for me, please. Okay, oh wow. Only 3 people didn't manage to do it. Well done, guys, for trying. It seems everyone else in the room was able to do it. Yeah, right. I think what we realized very early on is that maybe it's not working out as well as we thought. And here's the funny thing about that exercise, and this is really the point of why we did that, is when I share that exercise with individuals who do a lot of eye, hand, and foot coordination, so maybe people who play the keyboard and they need to use their feet as much as they need to use their hands, they get that exercise fairly quickly. It's similar to that pat your head, rub your tummy that you may be familiar with. And here's the point. When we train ourselves into resilience, when we train ourselves into innovative thinking or divergent thinking, creative thinking, pushing against the boundaries kind of thinking, that's the only way it happens. So often do we sit in our strategic conversations and we expect ourselves to bring brilliant brains, when all you have access to is the brain that you've trained. Each and every person only has access to the brain that they've trained. You absolutely cannot ask your friend who you know is brilliant with ideas and innovative. And we've got a strategy today. We've got a strategy meeting today. Can I just, I promise 30 minutes and you'll have it right back. We can't do that. I know you're thinking about that person. You're going, oh, wouldn't that be great? But we can't do that. Each and every one of us only brings the brains that we've trained when it's time to innovate, when it's time to shift, and when it's time to be resilient. So the best thing we can do for ourselves as we think about the future of our organizations and our resilience is train ourselves to consistently stay and to become resilient. And so that's what these 2 key factors are about. Here's one of the biggest things that we need to unlearn, is that our ideas, our next step, our innovations, have to come from the exact same place. They have to come from the exact same parts of the organization, they need to come from the exact same people, and they need to come maybe from the exact same person, oftentimes. But that, for me, has been one of the key things that I've seen so many of us unlearn over and over again. And one of the best examples that I actually had the fortune of hearing straight from the horse's mouth, and please don't tell him I called him a horse, but straight from the horse's mouth, was from Colin Hall, who used to be chairman of the Wool Trust Group in the late 1990s. And he shared the story of how Woolworths, specifically, which was part of the Wool Trust Group, along with Truworths, along with your Massmart as well, had a huge shrinkage issue. Until one day, a cashier came into his office and she said, "Mr. Hall, may I please speak to you?" And he said, "All right, come through." "You know what the problem is that we're experiencing, Mr. Hall? When my cousin or my uncle comes to Woolworths with milk and flour and then gives me a look as a cashier, I know that that's a sign for me to only run the milk and let them have the flour. That's actually the problem that we're facing. That's what's happening on the ground. But you know what?" And this is the part that he says was most significant. She said, "Well, you know what? I think I have the solution that's going to help the entire business. If consumers and clients or customers at Woolworths didn't get an option about who to go to at their tills, I think we would really solve this." And so he thought, okay, it makes sense. Why not try it? Now, if you've been to a Woolworths in the past year, and longer even, you will know that when you stand in a Woolies queue, it depends on who calls you to come next. You don't get your aunt, and sometimes you do get your aunt, then it's up to you and your aunt what you guys decide to do, but oftentimes you just randomly get allocated. And that, for me, is a beautiful example about rethinking where some of our biggest ideas come from. So let's skip right ahead then to that two-part concept that I'd like to leave with you. And all that it's made up of is look and look again. That's all you ever need to do in a moment that needs you to build resilience, to see things differently, and to chart a future that looks nothing like what you have today. And I promise when you share this with your teams, they're going to go, really? That's the big insight you got from the Sage Roadshow? Look and look again? But I promise, if you just give me a few seconds, I can convince you of just how powerful this concept is. And like I said in the beginning, even though some of the complex work that I do with organizations can sometimes seem daunting, it literally just comes down to the simplest concepts. So let's break the two down. Look. Look is all about being aware of the assumptions that you made right in the beginning, like we spoke about. But the key part is being aware of them with interest and with curiosity. Think about the conversation we had when you saw me earlier on. You might have judged me, it may have influenced how you receive what I'm sharing, but the most important thing with look is not to judge what we experience, not to judge the conversations we have, not to judge the insights that we receive, but to look at them with curiosity and understand that whenever we look at anything, we don't look at it with our eyes, but it's our brains that jump up first and tell our eyes what we're looking at. Don't believe me? Here's the actual process. When you look at something, all that's coming through your eye is just light. Step number one. That light hits a thin piece of tissue in the back of your eye called a retina. Step number two. You still don't know what you're looking at. Number three, once it's hit the retina, sensory receptors then receive that light energy. You still don't know what you're looking at. You're still going there, still standing there going, okay, what is it, what is it? But it's really, really fast. Step number four, that light energy is then converted to electrical energy so that your brain can interpret it. And then only then does your brain get nudged to say, okay, what are we looking at? And then what does your brain do? Biases, previous experiences, people I know, things I like, things I don't like, things I don't prefer, people I don't prefer to speak to, people we don't want to partner with. Cooks up an assumption and hands it to you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why looking is not enough. But it's important that when we look, when we assess, when we interpret, when we see anything and anyone, we do it with curiosity.
It's easy to put people in boxes. There's us, and there's them. The high earners, and those just getting by. Those we trust, and those we try to avoid. There's the new Danes, and those who've always been here. The people from the countryside, and those who've never seen a cow. The religious, and the self-confident. There are those we share something with, and those we don't share anything with.
Velkommen. Jeg kommer til at stille jer nogle spørgsmål i dag. Nogle af dem kan godt være lidt personlige, men jeg håber, I vil svare ærligt på dem. Hvem herinde i rummet var klassens klovn? Hvem er bonusforældre?
And then suddenly, there's us. We who believe in life after death. We who've seen UFOs. And all of us who love to dance. We who've been bullied. we who've bullied others. And then there's us, the lucky ones who've had sex this past week. We who are broken-hearted. We who are madly in love. We who feel lonely. We who are bisexual. And we who acknowledge the courage of others. We who have found the meaning of life. And we who have saved lives. And then there's all of us who just love Denmark. So maybe there's more that brings us together than we think. TV2 Denmark. All that we share.
Always so special. And one of the key parts that I want to bring forward from that is the part about courage. Because it's easy to look at something. It's easy to assess something that you've seen time and time again and look at I mean, you know this, no offense, but we do a lot of the same things all of the time. All of us, really. So it's easy to just look. Because the assumption is that we know what we're looking at. I mean, what's new? And that's why that part about courage always is just so inspiring. Because it takes courage to really bring through that second part, to go beyond just assessing once, to go beyond just having a conversation once, to asking the question once. It's going to take a little bit more. So what's the question we ask ourselves as we look? When we assess anything with that sense of curiosity and interest, this is the question we ask. What assumptions are we making about what we're looking at? What assumptions are we making about our new client, about our new customer? But also about our people, our industry, our talent. And that's when we're aware of our assumptions, then we can jump over to step number 2, which is that looking again. We think we see, but now let's really understand what's happening. Let's go beyond that and see what we might be missing in that situation. One of the biggest questions that I ask, and Washington introduced me as the unlearning lady, and that's what my clients call me. But one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, how do I unlearn? How do we unlearn? Our people have a problem. You know, we're trying to get everyone back into the office, and they're just not coming, is one of the biggest concerns that we have. But how do we get our people to just unlearn? And the answer is actually not as exciting as we might think. I'll show you. Hand up if you consider yourself an excellent driver. Like I could wake you up at 1 a.m. and you would get in there, you would know what you were doing. There's a giggle on that side. What's going on there? Okay, a few of us would consider ourselves pretty proficient in that space. Now, here's my next question for you, just for those individuals, but also for the rest of us, feel free to answer as well. When you wanted to learn how to drive, did you say to yourself, I need to unlearn not being able to drive. It's driving me crazy. I need to unlearn it. No? One person, one lady over there? I think we need to have a conversation. Because generally, we don't say that. What do we say instead? I need to learn. I need to learn. Because in that context, we actually understand that the brain prunes patterns we don't use when we learn a new one. So in essence, you don't even have to worry about the thing you want to stop doing. Don't worry about what's going wrong. And yes, I mean, it's easier said than done, but focus on what you want to build. What is the capacity we want to create? What is the skill we want to bring in? Who is the team member we now want to have join our team? And when you focus on that, then unlearning happens as a result of that. It's pretty profound. And so that's how we bring in number 2. Look again. Once you've looked for the first time with interest, you now look again. Because the first time you looked, it was those assumptions, right? It was those patterns that were coming through, those defaults, those biases. Now we look again. The line on your extreme right-hand side, or on your right-hand side, is the same length or height as one of the lines on your right. Did I say right the first time? Left-hand side, that's a thing that I have. I just told everyone about it now. On the right-hand side, one of the lines, A, B, or C, is the same height and length as one of the lines on your left. Turn to the person next to you and let them know which one you see is the same length. That was pretty loud. Okay. C. Okay. Some of you are probably going, how? Hello? I've got eyes. It's C, obviously. Hand up if you think it's B. Okay, a few of us. Some people are going, who is that? A? Anyone for A? A few of us. Okay, interesting. Here's the reason why I'm showing you this. Dr. Solomon Asch in the 1950s did some interesting research. And he found that when human beings, because we're social creatures before we are reasoning creatures, close to 40% of the time you will change what you say is your perspective, and you will even change your real perspective because everyone else around you contradicts what you think you see. We often don't believe that. We think, no, I'll stand for my convictions. But actually, you'd be surprised at how social pressure has us all moving in the exact same direction.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white T-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2,
2,
3,
3, 3,
3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2,
2,
2, 2, 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1.
They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1.
1. 1. 2. 1. 2.
2.
2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2. 2. 2.
This last guy was sharing. There was a second, and you might have noticed it, when he had just given his response, and the guy after him paused in complete disgust because he'd given his own perspective that was contrary to everyone else's, and then he responded. That's that little piece that most of us struggle with. That's the time or the little break in the market where everyone goes, but don't you recognize that the trend says we all need to move in this direction? That's when we get ridiculed and we get all of the questions that come towards us about how we're moving against the grain. And that's the part that needs the courage. And that's what looking again is all about. And this is the question we ask ourselves at that stage. What are we missing? What are we not aware of? Who are the industry players that we're not tracking? Is there something else that we could be looking at? Who else can we speak to? Who else could we partner with? But I think more importantly as well, right at the bottom is where can we start? With so many different things facing us at any given time, what's the one place we could start? Because it's going to take a lot. And because it's going to take a lot, we can't do everything at the same time. So where do we start? What's the best place for us to start right now where we are? And that's it. You look, and then you look again. And it's as simple as that. And because it's so simple, it's easy to apply, but also it's easy to remember. Oftentimes we complicate the things that make the biggest difference. But that's why I wanted this message to be simple, so that we can walk away and we can apply it with the small things, but we can also apply it with some of the big things. Especially as we co-create, especially as we start to think about who's across from us that we can speak to. Who's the person next to you, if you know them, if you don't know them, and how can you potentially partner with them as you grow your journey? Now here's where I'm going to close off with a beautiful example about what it's going to take as we leap and as we transition. The picture you see on your screen is made up of both a sad man and an angry man. You could be seeing something else as well, which is also fine. But out of the sad and the angry man, which one are you seeing, sad or angry? Oh, why did you say it like that? I always find that people go, sad. Okay, now here's the thing. Research shows that when you look at that and you see a sad man, without even knowing it, and possibly even without even sharing with the people who are closest to you. I'm joking. Ha! Works every time. It doesn't mean that you're sad if you saw a sad man. Let me just make sure that that's clear. But also the other thing there is that let's challenge what people say after they say research shows, because that's just another way that we get swept up in some of those assumptions. Now here's where you challenge yourself. We spoke about making assumptions and then challenging them. Challenge yourself to see the angry man in the image. And raise your hand for me when you can see the angry man. Okay, 2 people. Love it. I love it. A few of us are tilting our heads, making ourselves a bit uncomfortable, doing some maneuvering. Let me give you a quick clue. I'd like you to cover the man's eye. Okay, my laser's not working. That's on the right-hand side. So cover that eye, whether you use your hand or just block it out of your vision. And then the part that's going to make the magic happen, tilt your head slightly to the left. Someone said, that's it. And what you'll notice is that what used to be a cheek becomes a nose, and what used to be an ear now becomes an eye. And that's the maneuvering that that's the maneuvering that it's going to take. As you start to think about building that resilience, it's going to take a lot of discomfort. It's going to take us covering those numbers and colors that distract our attention from seeing things differently. It's going to take a tilting of the head that may seem like it's dangerous, but may need to be done at times. So I'm going to share this deck with you. Don't worry, you can have a look at the sad and angry man when you download the deck for yourself. So here's where I want to close off with this beautiful quote. It's important for us to stay learning and unlearning as well. And in essence, just learning. Because those are the people, or those are the organizations and leaders that are really going to rule the day. It's those of us who are willing to look for the opportunity at any given moment and leap forward. Here's that link that you can use to download the slide if you are still having a bit of trouble with the ballerinas, the angry man, and you're going, no, Zanele, I feel cheated. That's fine. You can go back, look at it on your own. But otherwise, thank you so much, and I'm wishing all of you the best as you grow, going to be tracking your journeys and seeing how you learn and unlearn as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And thank you very much. I think another round of applause to Zanele for that presentation. I think that was awesome. Right. Okay, so we are getting to the last, there's 2 sessions before we break off for lunch. So we are going to have a discussion around the accountant's practices. And then after that, we're going to go into the breakout rooms for the first session of the breakout rooms. And I will guide you once we are done with the accountant's practices. And to welcome onto the accountant's practices, Pierre Badenhorst from Sage is going to talk to us about the accountant's program and to help you. And if you need to have any further discussions when the breakout sessions do happen, please do feel free to walk in and discuss, and we'll basically take you through that. Thank you so much, Pierre.
Thanks so much, Washington. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us today. So I decided to do a bit of an experiment and challenge the room to a certain degree. Let's just see if it goes. There we go. Sorry, jump one back. And try and change and challenge the room. So desktop versus cloud, I think is a quite debatable topic currently, and even between the partners as well as the accountants alike. I think it's almost asking the same question as, which series is better, the Real Housewives of Pretoria or the one of the Winelands? And if the guys are saying, we don't watch that, Toyota Hilux or Ford Ranger, it's debatable. But one thing is very certain is that from a Sage perspective is we have seen the shift from desktop to cloud, where a lot of customers, accountants, and partners alike are moving their customers to the cloud. So what I've done is I actually looked at the last 2 years, and I looked at the accountants that's coming into our program as well as the partners that's coming into our program, and trying to see some insights and then relay this back to you guys to actually see what the effect is and what we can see from a Sage perspective of the migration itself. So what I've discovered is a couple of topics that I would like to just briefly touch base with you guys. And what we've seen is that from an accountant's perspective, there's almost like 3 different stages a practice finds itself in. And it can be from the start inception up until a period of 10 years that I looked into. The first one is creation of data. And what we've seen here is a lot of people are stuck in that almost that mindset of we are creating content. We are creating a lot of information, and we're sharing that with the customers. And at the end of the day, it's almost like it falls into the category where, because this is the way that we have been doing it for the last 20 years. And I think this is a major mindset change that accountants and partners alike need to take into consideration. Just the fact that we're busy doesn't mean we're actually adding any value. And this is where we have seen the change between desktop and cloud. The second one is where active use of information, where people are starting to read the numbers and the information that they're getting out of the numbers or the financials and determining what they should do with that. And then the last one is to integrate information with the business decision. This is where an accountant is not reporting on what happened in the last 12 months, but actually are able to tell the customer what is going to happen in the next 12 months that's coming. And this is where I've seen a massive change in the way that accountants are taking on customers. It's not about the 12 months reporting, getting a tax clearance certificate, or just telling telling an owner, listen, you don't have any money left in the bank. If an accountant is still going to a customer and saying, listen, your bank balance is negative, and you think you've added value, you're making a big mistake. That customer already knows his bank balance is negative. And that is a massive thing that we need to actually go and change going forward. So I've took a sample of the last 2 years' information out of Sage database around guys that's coming into our program from a desktop perspective, and people coming into our program from a cloud perspective. And this is the key differentiators that I've seen. 8% year-on-year growth for the desktop accountants. And this is talking about customers or companies being added into that accountant's book. compared to a cloud accountant where they're adding 36% more customers or companies alike. And then what I've discovered is also when the accountant starts using the actual software from Sage or was just signed up within the first 3 months, a desktop accountant is more likely to start up with a base of 4 customers compared to a cloud accountant that's starting with a base of 14 customers. And that for me is a massive number that I would like to actually just briefly share with you guys. So a couple of things or key takeouts that I've actually taken into consideration looking into the numbers and the details itself that popped out of the data is on a desktop side, as soon as the company or that accountant reaches almost like 12 companies that they're servicing on a desktop perspective, they actually are taking on a second person to assist with the desktop duties or the bookkeeping duties, compared to a cloud accountant that still only requires 1 staff member, up to around about the average of 18 companies before they actually consider taking on a second staff member. And that for me is a massive differentiator about how the practice can scale their business, but also still be very efficient. And that for me is a clear differentiator between the way the desktop system and the cloud system is actually operating in our ecosystem. Now, anytime, anywhere, you've seen I've put a plus in both sides, but for me it comes down to the principle. If I've got my laptop and I've got internet, if I'm a desktop and I virtual remotely or virtual access or remote access the system, yes, I can still work anywhere, anytime. But for me, the plus sign on the cloud side is I actually don't need my PC. I can access anybody's PC and still be able to work. And we've seen this quite a couple of times where accountants are saying, listen, I went on holiday and then suddenly I needed to approve something, but I didn't take my laptop, just in the sense that, well, I wasn't really supposed to be working. Where I can go to an internet cafe or even to that scenario, work on my smartphone to a certain degree. Backups and data transfer, we know it. Jordan mentioned it as well. Desktop world. Am I restoring over the old data? Is this the actual up-to-date data, or how old is this data that I need to restore and work on? And for me, that's a clear differentiator between cloud and desktop. Power of change or power of cloud. So for me, and Peter mentioned it, everybody mentioned it from a Sage perspective. Everything around resources, development time is going into the cloud ecosystem. And that is exactly where the power lies. The way in which we can release a new system, a new functionality, a new module can be by a Thursday night. The next morning when you log into the system, it's done, it's there. But on a desktop side, you still need to make sure that you are on the latest version. Do you have access to download it? Sometimes even during the downloads, there's a little bit of struggle around that. Storage for me, again, came into a clear differentiator. It's so easy that if you run out of memory these days, by 2 or 3 clicks, you can increase your storage space by gigs or terabytes these days, compared to, oh, I need to get a computer IT technician to either upgrade a hard drive or something, that we need to have more storage. And then for me, a clear differentiator again is group consolidations. These days, it's so much easier to do group consolidations via cloud apps and programs that makes a difference, a massive difference in the way that we can actually look at the data itself. We still see from a Sage perspective, both on partner side as well as an accountant side, that the target market is still your express-based customers that the guys are migrating to the cloud, except if it's a brand new customer that's coming into play. I see the marks or the little tick check boxes is a little bit light, but we will share the deck at a later stage. But it still shows that the business is moving in the right direction when it comes to the small businesses. So that said is that we've created the accountant's model specifically around the cloud strat. From the numbers and everything that I've showed, as you can see, the way that customers are flocking towards the accountants for additional use. We've created the module in 2 different segments. The one is where we talk about the assisted customer or the accountant's edition. This program is designed where the accountant owns the subscription and also the access for the customer itself. Do they do the books for the customer, or do they give the customer access to do certain tasks or functions? For example, like invoicing to a certain degree. The other one is the non-assisted customer, where the accountant goes to the customer and say, please get your own Sage subscription and then invite me so I can do my duties, let's say at the end of the month. Now, from the accountants that came into the programs itself, 70% are going into the model of the assisted customer. I want to own everything for that customer. I'm in control of that customer's accounts, and I can actually control around access. Main reason why, when I spoke to the accountants around us, is to make sure that we can get paid at the end of the day. There's nothing worse than doing work for a customer and always getting a promise of being paid. If you own the subscription and you own the control or the access to that system, if you don't get paid, you can block them from accessing it until you get payment. And that's one of the main reasons why the number is sitting at a 70-30 split. Now, it also comes with a bit of additional features, for example, the client management tasks, calendar, dashboards, and free internal clerks or staff members that you can add onto your own subscription for use by the team itself. We've also created a bureau model or a preferential pricing for the guys that's going with the assisted program or the accountant's edition. What this allows you to do is when you create a company or add a customer, you can differentiate the different type of level of access that they require. Meaning, do they need to have customer suppliers invoicing access? Because then they will go with the normal full access. If not, and it's a journal, and a lot of the accountants are doing this specifically around people doing a side hustle or having a second option for a revenue stream, is where I bought product or stock for 10,000, I sold it at 15. I just need to do a one journal entry at the end of the month to keep the records up to date. I don't need to do individual invoicing, etc. Those are type 2 and type 3 clients. And that is where we've seen a lot of customers being added into the accountant's program itself. Also comes with a key differentiator, and I think it's one of the things that we sometimes lack as Sage putting it out there, but we're still the only competitor in the market that's got a seamless integration from an accounting and a payroll perspective. It's not that we have to have a separate program either for accounting or payroll. It is Sage owned and Sage run. What we've also seen is that the pricing model around cloud versus desktop has a unique difference in the sense that you are able to almost run a customer's books for 561 on a cloud model compared to on a desktop perspective of 1,235. Yes, rebates and those types of things play a massive role in calculating that value. But at the end of the day, it is still a practice or a business owner, accountant that needs to make profit at the end of the day. And that's why a cloud option is so significant for what I've looked into the program. Around this also is that adjustment of status and rebate alignment, meaning that at the end of the day, the more customers you add into your book, the better you are financially. And this still stands that at the end of the day, it makes it so much easier to scale the company, your practice, and also the financial benefit that you will derive from scaling through the different tiering. Now, we did a massive relaunch on the loyalty program, where this allows you, according to the tiering, to access more free stuff. We looked at the loyalty programs run by the banks and other service providers, and there is definitely still a way in to add more and more features onto a loyalty program. So at the end of the day, it is more beneficial the more customers you can get into the cloud system itself. Now, one of the biggest differentiators between us and competitors is the ISV loyalty program. By owning a Sage practice on the cloud itself, you can get free DraftWorks, Sift Analytics, and Caseware licenses, We are in final discussions around auto entry and also adding a practice management software. At the end of the day, it comes down to this, where depending on your tiering, you can either have a SIFT analytics or, depending on which one you want to go with, either DraftWorks or Caseware license. Some of you guys in here that uses Caseware knows a license can be anything from 25,000 Rand up to 45,000 per user in a year. And Sage is actually taking care of that burden. So it's additional revenue that doesn't have to go out of the company as an expense, but it's something that Sage is willing to carry the cost around that. Now, what I've determined with looking at the customers that's coming into the ecosystem from a Sage perspective is that the demand is there, but a lot of the accountants and partners are getting it wrong. And for me, there was 4 points that I took out of my research with the 2 years data, is that the first one is the offering itself. And I want you to take a look at the bottom section. Partners as well as accountants are not competing on product. They are competing on the quality of service, the expertise, and a beneficial relationship. And this even relates back to customers. Why would somebody walk into your store, your business, to get business or buy a product from you compared to somebody else's business? And that for me is where a lot of the lacking is still happening in the business. It's the same principle for me, a small business owner or a startup. I've got this idea, I've got this product, I've got this service that I want to offer, but it doesn't differentiate me from somebody else. When you look at an accountant practice, at the end of the day, still compliance is going to be your number one priority. But at the end of the day, what are you doing better? What are you adding more value to a customer compared to somebody else? For me, I had that a wow moment 2 weeks ago where I was in a call with an accountant and a customer, and the customer was looking at a way of trying to reduce cost in the company, or at the end of the day, just get a little bit more profitability. The accountant went out of his way to try and identify what the issues was in that company. So this company purchases products and then they sell it online. When they sell it online, items need to be couriered through to the customer wherever they are situated. But this customer has been using the same logistical company or courier company for the last 10 years. And that's again, that mindset sets in, but we've been doing it for the last 10 years, why change it? Then the accountant actually invited a company called Bob Go. So Bob Go, I don't know them from a bar of soap, and credit's due where credit's due. I think they actually looked at the Hippo model. Everybody knows Hippo, where you can get competitive quotes for your insurance. And they said, why is companies not doing exactly the same for courier services? They got a plugin that works into Netcash, and at the end of the day, this customer now can go and say, cool, I need to courier this item to this location. This system or this app automatically then searches all the courier companies that's available and immediately pops up with, let's say, the top 5. And it tells you, this is the date that it's going to reach them, this is the cost. Now suddenly that customer can have an option of different courier companies compared to just the one. It makes a huge difference on expenses because now it's not the standard way of operating anymore. Now suddenly they can go, oh, but I can actually choose this courier company, and these guys arrange everything. The next day the guys are there, they pick it up and they go. This actually caused almost like a 20% reduction in their expenses when it comes to the courier cost, which is standard for them itself. That's a wow moment where I promise you that customer is going to look at that accountant in different ways of, you've saved me so much money, I will never leave you. Do you want to come to my kids' birthday parties? Come, I don't mind. And that's exactly where the offer needs to come into play, that what differentiates you from somebody else. The second one was the finance rules around the 80 versus 20 rule. 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your book or your customers. But 80% of your time is also, no, the other way around. 20% of your time is actually taken up by 80% of your customers. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is that you need to have a critical look at the customers that you're serving. The way in which you actually have to go and say, let's create the Excel spreadsheet. We put in all our customers there. Look at the revenue that each one brought in for the last 5 years. What is the differentiator there? Are you getting exactly the same value each and every year from a customer? Or is the income that you get deriving out of that customer getting more and more, depending on what your fees increases? But at the end of the day, and I have this discussion on every roadshow, where accountants are saying, but I've been servicing that client for the last 20 years, and that OME told me if I change my pricing 10 Rand more a month, you will leave me. I think it's time he needs to leave. You need to look at each individual customer and work on that principle that even from a business partner perspective, is that customer actually adding any additional revenue, or are you burning through your admin and your staff's time looking after a customer that's not really adding any income into the company? And it is a very critical thing, but it is something that you need to look into. Identify the obstacles and solve it. Very much to what I said now about the logistics company and the way that it actually changed that perception. Digital marketing. I'm not going to pick on anybody, but I think I know half of the people sitting in this room. And I went and I Googled a couple of you guys' companies around reviews. Not the actual website, the reviews that pops up when you Google your own company. When was the last time that somebody did that in this room? Don't raise your hands. But it's a clear differentiator. Remember something is that we are all in nature exactly the same when it comes to purchase products and everything. If my wife tells me, Pierre, we need to get a new dishwasher. The thing that I do is I don't go to the malls. It's when I get into bed at night, take out my cell phone, and I start researching. Maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe this one. Then I go to my wife and I say, you've got an option of 3. Which one? Black, white, or gray? That's the only option she gets. The rest of the research I have already done. I know exactly. These days now we research electricity usage because I need to know how it's going to impact my solar, etc. I've got all the stuff done. That's exactly what customers also do when they look at, I need to get an accountant to help me finish certain financials, get a tax clearance certificate. People do that even if it is researching a business partner, accountant. You need to digitally be aware of what's out there and how it affects your business. And then the last point was a 6 months health check. Are you happy with the fees you are charging? Is there more that you can do for your clients? Are you generating new leads? Is your tech working the way it should? Is admin more or less than previous review? And for me, when we're talking about the tech, how the tech is working in the company, I'm talking about app partners and additional systems that's supposed to either cut back on admin, make the company more efficient, faster in doing processing. I had an interesting chat with an accountant in Durban where she said, I have this lady that helps me transfer old bank statements onto Excel so I can get it into the system. I mentioned, why don't you just use auto-entry? And she goes like, no, don't mention it to the lady, because this lady's revenue or this lady's income is derived from capturing that stuff onto Excel. And I said, well, there should be an easier way of getting it in. She's like, no, but if I get auto-entry or if I invest in AI, this lady's going to lose her income. I said to her, but you're looking at it completely the wrong way. What are you currently paying that lady? And I'm making up numbers. I don't want to disclose all the actual numbers. But let's say, for example, she charges her 10 Rand a page. She's like, yeah, but this lady is like a machine. She is a human robot. She can capture bank statements and from PDFs like this into Excel, etc. I said to her, what if you can teach that lady to use AI? So instead of doing 10 pages a day, she can do 1,000 pages a day. Her income is not going to decrease. it is going to become a business on its own. And that's exactly where you need to look at the way that your tech impacts your business. Is there easier ways to do mundane tasks? We also spoke about it in earlier sessions, is that you need to look into that. Take the rebates by getting more customers into your system or into your ecosystem. Take that rebates, invest it back into AI or into tech or into app partners that can alleviate more and more time. The biggest thing that I've always picked up when we talk about small businesses is that the small business owner becomes everything. From the person that opens in the morning, from doing admin, from credit finance, tasks, all those types of things. You need to alleviate the amount of work that the staff and the people are doing to focus on more cool ideas. That actually can take a person's time up to say, cool, I can actually now go and look into AI or look at new ways of doing the same tasks. And that is critical in what we need to do going forward. The biggest thing that I've also picked up from a Sage perspective around accountants and business partners is the changing of the landscape. The days of, I can only do this to derive an income is quite significantly changing quite fast. Accountants are looking for business partners for support in product, and business partners are looking at accountants to get them that base to assist them with the consulting and the data. So I actually considered during the Cape Town Roadshow, I asked, and I wanted to find out from you guys as well, is who would be keen on like a network evening, cocktails, we need to do cocktails or something, but between business partners and accountants. Because at the end of the day, you guys are servicing the same clients, but just from a different perspective. Support versus accounting or financial. So just by a raise of hands, who would like to do like a network like that? Okay, cool. And then a second question, which is more for me, for my own interest sake, is who in this room does have a second sideline job or a second sideline hustle where they can make income? If you're here with your boss, maybe just blink twice before raising your hand. Okay, it's only a joke. Guys, sorry, my time is up, and I'll pass you back to Washington, but we are going into the breakout sessions and during lunch and even after the sessions. Please come and chat to me around some insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you so much. Right. I think now we're getting to the part where we're going to go into the breakout rooms. And the first session of the breakout rooms is going to run between now and 1 o'clock. And I will take you through our breakout sessions. And then we will have lunch between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I'll really ask you all if you can just try, we try and speed up so that we can come back to do the second breakout, which is between 2 and 3. And thereafter, we've organized, there'll be a cocktail networking session where we can get to start part of what Pierre was addressing. Now, just to manage in terms of the breakout rooms, there is 4 sessions that are running, as you can see. So accounting and accounting practices will remain in the main room. So those that would like to attend that, which is the dome, you will remain in here. And there will be 2 sub-sessions in between before we break out for lunch. And those that are looking at the small segment resellers, that is in gig room 2, which is out towards the coffee area, and you turn to the right. It's marked, there is markings that are there. And then we've got the finance professionals, that's in Connect room 200. So as you get out, you'll see there's 2 flights of stairs. So you will take, at the reception area, you will take the flight of stairs to the right. So the right will take you to the finance and accounting, which is in the Connect room 200. And then Connect room 100, that's where we've got the HR and payroll. So same stairs, you take to the stairs to the left, and you go up, and then you can connect in there. Now, for those that will be in here, I think for the session after lunch, there will be Professor Adrian Saville, who will be speaking. And I've had the privilege of being a student of his, so I can guarantee you that you would it's worth coming to listen to the man speak, and he's got a wealth of experience, both business and teaching. So we can take up to the first breakout session, and then we'll break for lunch. And that basically will bring us to the end of the main plenary session for today. And I hope it's been fulfilling, but if you have questions and you'd like to raise more questions, please do engage. We've got a lot of the SAGE colleagues here to address it. Now, there's also a survey, and I think it was up here before. That survey there, please can you complete the feedback? There is forms, you can scan it. There is hostesses outside who have the forms if you prefer to be manual or if you want to be digital. Please do scan and complete, and somebody will stand a chance to win a 500 Rand take-a-load voucher. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed, and it's been a pleasure being your host for this morning session, and I hope you'll enjoy the breakout sessions. Thank you.